Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Mission Pro Wrestling's Unmatched. I am Front Row, and joining me this week, as always, from the West Coast, Trenda. What's up, Trenda?
Hey, how's it going?
Well, we're just coming off the heels of a crazy long weekend of like, I don't know, 30,000 wrestling shows or something. It felt
It
like a
seems
lot.
that way. It really does seem that way. And I went to quite a few of them myself.
Oh, I see the chat's already filling up. I see Tony in there. I see Miss Front Row in there. I see Sam in Cleveland. What's up, everybody? There's RA. My goodness. All our people,
Hey.
all the Mission Pro people are showing up. And the Nation's Corner family. I got you, Tony. I got you. Um, so obviously we don't have 6 hours to cover all of the wrestling that happened this week. And even from a women's wrestling perspective, there's all kinds of really cool stuff that did happen this weekend. But before we jump in to the actual cool stuff that happened, I did want to mention that someone on the screen, not me, got to attend some cool stuff this weekend, including the Busted Open Party at the Whiskey A Go Go, at the legendary Whiskey A Go Go.
Yes.
So this is a cool picture. I got to give photo credit to Dave LaGreca. I pulled these off his Facebook, so hope he's not mad. So here's a great shot from the party of
Yeah.
Ron Funches and Thunder and Mark Henry, Dave LaGreca, Violetta LaGreca, Bully Ray, Tommy Dreamer, and Mickey James.
Mhm.
And of course, out front, there's Dave and you.
Yes, there I
Yeah.
am, right in the front, waiting for the event to start. Dave came out and welcomed everybody even before they like literally walked probably a block and a half to just welcome people that were just waiting in line to get into the event. It was really something special. So yeah.
That's awesome. So I listened live. Obviously I only heard what was broadcast, and it sounded like Thunder and Mickey and all the hosts had a blast. There was some karaoke. There was Violetta sandwich. It was
Yes, yes, all of that. I wanted to say like Thunder and Mickey James both did karaoke. Thunder did English and Spanish songs. Mickey did I think Proud Mary on stage, and what you guys couldn't see is when they came to the part where she's supposed to swing and swirl her. Oh, she swung her head around. I don't know if that was the shots Bully made her take earlier in the show or not, but she was on stage getting it. I mean, and everybody in there was having a ball. So yeah, that the karaoke was just one of the amazing moments in that morning because there were so many. There was what felt like a real live concert from Nita Strauss and Josh V. I mean, Josh V performed pretty much all the major wrestlers' theme songs via drums as it was playing in the background. Oh my God. That was, then by the end of, and it lasted for almost like 40 minutes or so. Like it was like a serious concert, all just amazing. And then him and Nita performed together. She did a couple of songs. Like it, I mean, it blew my mind because I've always wanted to go to a concert with them, but honestly, I thought I'd never be able to afford it. But look what Busted Open was able to do for me.
But how cool is it? Someone like Nita Strauss, who's obviously toured the world, she's been a big part of Alice Cooper's show. She was touring with
Oh
Demi Lovato, and here she is, one of the Busted Open Nation.
no,
She's a
not
huge fan.
not a celebrity. That's exactly what I was about to say. Not a celebrity. She is a fan. Like she was literally there as a fan. Any and everybody who wanted to take pictures with her got to take a picture with her. It was, I mean, she was, you would have, if you didn't know her, you would have thought she was just part of the crowd, because if you look in the crowd, you'll see her standing in the crowd along with everybody else majority of the time as the show was going on. I mean, just amazing experience. Like
That's awesome. And to see, she's such a badass. She's so cool. She's so nice. And it's so cool to see stuff like that. And I did, so I see in the chat here, I did get a text from you during the show with a picture that you had taken. You had finally met Emily, and
yes.
and then Emily texted me, said, "I just met Trenda." So
It was so cool because I was standing there. Okay, this is another thing. So my children indulge me in my wrestling craziness, and they know how much their mother is a fan. So my children actually came to the Busted Open event with me, my two daughters and my son. So and my son, not so much a fan. My daughters, the youngest one, she Trinity, she might watch depending on if she sees Roman on TV or not, or the Bloodline. And then my daughter Lexi, she is like really a fan with me. She's my like wrestling buddy. So for her, when I walked up to her, because I literally left them. I was like being a part of the crowd in the mosh pit and enjoying the whole situation. And then when I came back, she's like, "Mom, Thunder Rosa just walked in." And I'm like, "Okay." She's like, "No, Thunder Rosa." I'm like, I kind of knew she was gonna be here. So I mean, just a really amazing experience for everybody involved. It was great. Yeah, whiskey was
that's
great.
that's so cool, and to be there at such a legendary venue. I know even Bully Ray is as sort of jaded. He's been there, done that. He had said this is like a lifelong, it's a bucket list thing for him. Um, and of course, Nita had said that she had performed there many times. So I'm looking at the chat. There's some. Yeah, so I should mention. Thank
What?
you, Emily.
What are these comments?
I don't know. I don't know. See, if
Okay.
you're here, if you're here watching live, you'll see all these comments. If you don't, you might not see it on the replay. But anyway, um,
Ah.
so it sounds like a cool event, but you weren't there just for that one event. You got to do a bunch of cool stuff, and I wanted to ask you about your experience here at Multiverse United. And of course, the match we're going to talk about is that Fatal Four Way with Masha Slamovich, Deanna Perrazzo, Giselle Shaw, and Miyu Yamashita. Um, it was this the first time you had seen Miyu Yamashita wrestle live?
Yes, definitely. First time. And what I can say is that little woman was working everybody in that ring. Like she was
Real
in
snug.
there. Oh my God. Okay, so I actually was sitting in the front row, but like right to the side of where a post would be, inside joke where the big camera guy would be standing and blocking the view, but he wasn't there. So I was sitting right on the edge, so I really had like this perfect view, and some of the punches, some of those kicks that she was giving, the knees to the face in the corner, was like, oh my God. Like at one point in time, I literally felt myself just grab my jaw because I could have sworn. I mean, like I was just that close to it. She gave no punches with these ladies. I mean, it was a great match altogether. I think Masha and Deanna really had a good back and forth. Like you can see that for the most part. I feel like they were really telling a story in there together. Like they really felt like they had something to prove. And then Giselle was more so of the opportunist, waiting for her time and trying to pick her spots to see to see exactly if and when she could get into the match. But all together, oh my God, I enjoyed Multiverse. Seeing a lot of wrestlers just in general from New Japan that I've never seen before, and just taking pictures and yeah, again, just another great experience from this WrestleMania week.
That's really cool because we saw, or at least for me, like I'm not I don't follow a ton of Japanese wrestling. So when Thunder Rosa was going over back over to Tokyo Joshi Pro to face Miyu Yamashita, I think it was at the Summer Sun Princess pay per view, and that was for the opportunity for Miyu to return to the United States and challenge Thunder for her AEW World Title. And that was the first time I had seen her wrestle, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, this woman's insane! Like she's incredibly gifted and hard hitting and all that good
I
stuff."
was
And
just
then,
gonna say she hits hard.
yeah,
She hits hard. I mean, if anything, I think she educated the ladies from Impact a little bit because she hit really hard. It being there live was a totally different experience.
yeah, and Miyu is over here in the United States, I think, for a full year. I'm not sure if it's a whole year, but she's here
Oh
doing
wow.
a tour. She's everywhere. She's just follow her on social media, and you'll see she may be coming to a promotion near you. I don't know, but she's all over the place if you follow her on the socials. I did want to take just a moment to, for me personally, I saw the stuff that happened on social media. I saw the post from Giselle Shaw about
Mm,
the unfortunate incident that had happened at WrestleCon. And, um, you know, as a proud ally, like I was, just as a person, I was taken aback by it. And I want to put a positive spin on this and say there was an enormous amount of love and respect and support from not only the fans, but also from wrestlers and people in the industry. I saw Chris Jericho made a long post. Just
yeah,
I mean, just hundreds of wrestlers, just so many people came to her support, and that was uplifting. In the wake of a bad incident, I also
yeah.
think that the events coordinators and the people, all the folks involved, did the right thing in the end by handling it. But I did just want to show some support there. I don't know if you had seen all that stuff that had happened.
Yeah, I did hear about the situation, just scrolling through social media and everything. And, you know, um, it's kind of sad that we're still living in a day and time where a person just can't be themselves without other people um, giving their vocal opinion to me. Because I mean, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. To each his own. But don't try to bring another person down or downgrade another from who they are and who they want to be. Like I saw Giselle in that ring, and even though I said, she was being an opportunist and waiting her time, she was crafty. She was crafty and kind of reminded me of the old Edge, how Edge was
Mhm.
like the ultimate opportunist, or even the Miz, how it was a match and the Miz would never get in until the end if it was a Royal Rumble or something. That logical I'm gonna pick my spots type of thing that we all love from a villain. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So yeah, and I praise her for being who she is, and that's her business and her life. It's really nobody else's concern.
yeah, no, I agree, and I only watch Impact in bits and pieces. So when I do watch, I see the progression and the growth in her talent and her
Mhm.
experience, and she gets better and better. So she's becoming a bigger and bigger star in Impact, which I think is super cool.
Mhm, and not
Um,
just in the let me just say, not just in the ring, but again, just like I said, with the logic and with her promos. So, yeah, you can tell she's getting there, and I watch Impact faithfully. I love watching her on there, so,
yeah.
yeah, personal
So,
opinion.
but that match, like Deanna Prazo won that match. Now you got to keep me honest. I think she now goes on to Rebellion. She's added to the Knockouts Championship match, and I
So
believe it's still a question mark about whether Mickey James is going to be defending or whether it's going to be for a vacant title, right?
So correct. At this point in time, it's still a question mark whether or not Mickey will be cleared to wrestle. However, I do believe Deanna at this point is the only one who qualified. They said it was a qualifying match at that point in time. So yeah.
But didn't Mickey say something on Busted Open about Jordan Grace being in that match, or was that no? I could be wrong. But we'll keep an eye on that because that's going to be a killer match. I mean, Impact has, in my mind, from a TV product for the the folks that are on TV regularly. I think Impact and NXT have two of the best women's rosters, um,
I agree.
just out there. Just and the storytelling and the time that they get are just second to none. So
Yeah,
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 and I want to mention here the whole Impact team came together. It was beautiful to see us under such awful circumstances. That is very true. I saw
yeah.
such overwhelming support. Um, but okay, so just shifting gears, I've been a big fan of the four horsewomen of MMA:
Mm.
Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler, Jessamine Duke, and of course Marina Shafir. Since ago, like a long time ago, they were doing when Shayna had just I think entered the independent scene, and they started appearing places together. And Ric Flair had sort of stamped them as the four horsewomen of MMA, and this was before the four horsewomen of WWE formed. This was before the four horsewomen of NXT became a thing. So I've been watching. Obviously, Ronda and Shayna are doing their own thing in WWE, but I was excited to see Marina Shafir come to NXT, and I don't think she ever really did a lot there. And maybe the pandemic had something to do with her time there. She was released and then showed up in AEW, and I've not really seen. She is a world class judoka. She is an incredible martial artist, and I hadn't really seen a lot from her that sort of matches up with what I think her skill set should be. Having said that,
Hmm.
she's had several appearances at Bloodsport, and we're going to talk about this most recent match where that's the Marina Shafir that I would like to see on AEW. She was badass. She was technical, just dominant. And I'm really, really happy to see that she has an outlet and another place to go to sort of craft that version of herself. So I want to ask you this match that she had with Killer Kelly, and I've seen Killer Kelly beat the hell out of people. I mean, she's like she's a force,
Yeah.
but she got steamrolled by Marina Shafir.
Okay. So
She
yeah, you feel.
did.
So yeah, she did. Realistically, yeah, she did. I don't know. I've seen Killer Kelly perform a couple of times myself, and it just seemed like, from the beginning, she couldn't catch herself. Like I don't know if she got to a point where she just was scared, or maybe Marina did something to her where it just shook her, but she couldn't get her bearings together, and she looked like she was just scared through majority of the match, and I think all for a minute only after Marina hit her head on the tile out there, she did try to take advantage for a little while, but realistically, no, no. I mean, even the commentators was just like, this is a bad look. Like we might need to stop this.
And Marina looked genuinely disappointed when the match was over. She wanted to continue the violence. Like,
I know, it was like, no, she didn't tap out. I didn't feel it. Let me continue to choke her to death. Like I don't know what's going on here, but hey, okay. Um, but do want to say though, that bump to the back of her head, when she hit that tile, I was nervous for a while with that, because it did seem like for a minute she was losing her bearings. She was a little dizzy in the ring, and I think the commentators was trying to kind of make a joke to throw it off, but you could really tell that she wasn't there for a minute, and we always want to think about the safety of everybody in the professions that we love to watch these sports. So I was really worried for a time, but I am glad to see that she was able to kind of bounce back in the end, and be able to continue to dominate the match pretty much.
yeah, and I want to tip of the cap to Josh Barnett, because right from the beginning of the Bloodsport pay-per-views, we see stuff like this. We see the way that just like talented badass women are presented. I love it. Oops. And we've seen some really really cool matches on Bloodsport over the last few years. Even if you remember a couple years ago, Allison Kay and Masha Slamovich, and just
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
I think
Yeah.
Marina faced. Zeta Zhang in her first blood sport, and that was a good match because Zeta, also Mission Pro alum, is also a very skilled martial artist. That was a cool match. Go back and check that out if you have the opportunity. And so before we get to some of the big WrestleMania matches, I did want to mention Ring of Honor had their Super Card of Honor, and Yuka
Yes, they
Sakazaki.
did.
Yeah, and
Yes, they did. I was there. I was there.
mm-hmm.
Um, got a chance to watch this match. I don't know. It was to me. I felt like they didn't allow Yuka to really be whom she could be, whom I've seen her be before. I mean, I understand that, Athena is the champ and she's representing, and, maybe this was a open door type thing, or what is it, forbidden door type thing. But I mean, they gave a lot of back and forth, but you can definitely tell that Athena's strength was overpowering her agility and her speed. So um and then it got to the point where, I don't know, Athena was getting real cocky with it, and it was just like, okay, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't it was a good match. I just felt like they didn't give you a chance to actually show what she can do, because again, I've seen her wrestle before, and yeah, it just seemed like the Athena show. So I don't
Yeah, well, I mean, Athena is a pretty dominant champion. She's a powerhouse.
know. Okay.
Maybe, I mean, there's no doubt. We saw her obviously as NXT Women's Champion. She's Ring of
Yes.
Honor champion now. She's everywhere she goes. She was Warrior Wrestling champion. She was pretty much taking the title everywhere she's gone. So, while I hear what you're saying, it's not all that surprising to me. I do want to give a shout out to JD. He's got some good questions in the chat, and I'm going to pull them up as we go through. Um, Speaking of AEW, there was on Dynamite last night. The match last night with Jamie Hayter was and Riho was really good. They got time to tell a good story. It was hard hitting. It wasn't at 9:23. It was earlier in the show. So it had a lot going for it.
Yeah.
I did really like that match a lot. And so before we move on to while we're on the AEW topic, the AEW reality show debuted last week, AEW All Access. I have
Yes.
mixed feelings about it. I think that they're doing a good job of giving you a little bit more behind the scenes than your average reality show. Some of it feels a lot more real, for lack of a better term. We saw last week Britt Baker had some choice words for about Thunder Rosa, and of course this week on the show, Thunder had an opportunity to share her real life experiences with her injuries and all some of the things that she's been going through to try to get healed up and back to the ring. And we know now that she's doing Spanish commentary, she's loving that while she's healing. So I do think that they had a good opportunity both weeks to sort of get multiple sides of that story, but we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. Um,
Yeah, definitely. I've been watching, and as a fan of AEW, of course, you're gonna want to watch and see what this behind the scenes type of stuff is. However, all the negativity that comes through sometimes isn't um the best, as a person watching this show, because I mean, most of the time you hear, like, locker rooms talk about the camaraderie, and of course everyone has their feuds every once in a while, but like, it seems like sometimes there's a little extra bias going on over there, and I'm not necessarily sure how I feel about that yet. But we are only in episode 2. So, again, loving a good story. I'm going to continue to watch it, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's interesting so far.
it is. And
I
the
love
whole Sammy and Tay story has been interesting, and so give that a watch. It's a fun show. So let's kick over into the WrestleMania. So for
it.
me, obviously we're going to focus on the women's matches, but just for me, this weekend they did an outstanding job. 2 days of world class wrestling. It
Yes.
was wildly entertaining, and it had some really fun moments. The weekend of WrestleMania.
Bravo. I loved it. I love both shows. I love some of the improvises that I saw. I loved everything. Um, even the matches that didn't turn out the way that I wanted them to turn out, I loved them too. I mean, you could that's how great it was. You could not give a real negative um opinion on this WrestleMania. It was really one of the best ones I've watched in a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And so we're going to start with this match. And this match, Bianca Belair versus Asuka.
Ooh.
And before we talk about the match, I want to talk about the entrance.
Okay.
The entrance, her entrance with all the little girls. And shout out to Emily May, who had an opportunity to ask Bianca about this entrance at
Wow.
the post show media scrum, or the press conference, and go back. It's all over the socials. You can go back and see Emily ask her the question about the entrance and the importance of representation. And Triple H, of course, spoke about the little girl whose mother had passed away, and she still wanted to perform. And all of that was so heartwarming and heart wrenching to me at the same time. But like, what were you feeling when you saw the entrance?
Okay, so for me, it had its own special meaning because I'm from California. I'm from LA, and to see and hear that they had the youth from Compton in there, where Compton is like one of the more poorest, poverty stricken areas. I mean, they have it's every area has, like, their up buildings of, but I mean, it's so many things in Compton as far as gang violence and just education being really poor, and to see that they had those young ladies out there performing, and they worked hard, and they have basically an outlet for some young ladies out there to be able to go to and learn these dances and things is actually new to me. I mean, I haven't been in that area in quite some time, but I know when I was younger that we didn't have that type of outlet available. So yeah, for them to just be acknowledged and to have that little moment in the spotlight and then be with Bianca. I mean, at the same time, I mean, imagine being a little black girl looking up to this big black beautiful woman who's in a position of power, and she's like wearing this big golden belt, and you're looking at her and like, one day, I could do that. Like, that representation is so important in every culture, and to have them out there, especially knowing the neighborhoods that they grow up in, was really special for me. So I really applaud WWE for that. Bianca and whomever else had a hand in just bringing those young ladies out and showing them that, really, that they can achieve a WWE Women's Championship if they wanted to.
It is so cool. So like, just for me, like, to see the strength of a Bianca Belair, not just physically, but her presence, her personality in front of and behind the camera, all the community work that she does. And as wrestling fans, we always sort of talk about them being superheroes. She's pretty close to a superhero at this point.
Yes, yes, to a lot of people, to a lot of young girls, to a lot of women, not even just, young girls, to a lot of women, just to be able, like, my sister in Dallas. I remember last year I was out there, and we watched WrestleMania, I believe night two together, and she was watching Bianca, and it made her kind of stand up because she hasn't watched wrestling a long time, and then she looked at, a lot of the other wrestlers on there, like Montez and Dawkins, and just different. She was just like, "Whoa, it's a lot more representation than when we used to watch as kids." And I'm like, "Yeah, it is." You see the New Day. It's a lot more people of ethnicity in WWE and wrestling all around the world right now, and that made her actually more interested in watching just because of that. Because everybody wants to be represented. Everybody wants to see someone like them on the screen, and to know that they could possibly have that dream themselves. So yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, and I thought it was pretty cool. If you watch the Hall of Fame ceremony, Conan's been a pretty outspoken,
Yes.
um, supporter of his own community, but just
Hmm.
really representation and diversity throughout wrestling. And he said, "This is wonderful. Like, we live in an era where there's people of all shapes and colors and sizes and everything." He said that
Yeah.
this is like a almost a golden age of wrestling from a representation and diversity standpoint. So I thought it was cool to hear him say that, because he's kind of a wild card. Like, you don't know where he's going to go with some stuff.
Yeah, I'm still a fan.
Yeah. And by the way, his no, not to get too sidetracked, but his induction of Rey Mysterio was one of the best Hall of Fame inductions I've ever heard.
Yeah, it
Um,
really was.
and it was really cool to see Ric Flair put over Asuka. By the way, that
Hey,
was cool.
hey.
Um, okay, so as far as the match goes, like, I was a little not critical, but I wasn't necessarily invested in this match just from the perspective that there really wasn't a ton of story going into it. We knew that it was going to be good just based on who was in it, and
Yeah,
we weren't wrong. I think Bianca retaining was not a surprise, but the the match was great.
yeah, it
I
was. It was. It had so many moments, but I really think for the most part overall it just gave an opportunity to kind of show Bianca's strength. There were so many times in this match where her strength was just dominant, no matter what skills Asuka has, what quick movements Asuka did, like that. Her strength was just coming through, and yeah, she's a force. She's definitely a force to just be reckoned with. I could just at one point I remember when she I think lift Oscar over the rope. Just lift her from the outside of the ring over the rope and flipped her back inside of the ring. I mean, just Oscar's feet just went in the air, and just I mean, there's just a pure strength that she has is just amazing. Like I was in awe with that. So
that moment when she was gonna do the up and over with Asuka, Asuka sort of stalled and she held her over the ropes for several seconds and then just
imagine,
pure strength.
imagine that. Yes, because you know how much strength that had to take to even be able to hold her with that pause, and then still be able to get her up without even Oscar's feet ever touching the ring again in that one motion. I mean, that's why I said that was my moment for that whole match. I was just like, this woman is powerful. Yes.
Yeah, just insane strength. And for someone who's not been doing it for 10 or 15 years, she looks like she's been doing it for 10 or 15 years.
Awesome.
Mark Henry's talked about that, when he, as a talent scout, brought her in, and her talent took over at that point. She set all kinds of records in the combine, for the NXT combine year over year. Like, she set records the first year, and then every year she was in NXT, she just broke her own records. There was
Mm,
nobody close. Um, but I did think it was a cool match, and as far as badass women go, it doesn't get much more than these two.
that's right.
Um, so before we get to the match that I really want to talk about, I do want to mention this six way.
Aw.
So
What is
we
this? An
had
honorary mention? What is this?
well, no, and the reason I want to bring this up is, okay, so you have Becky Lynch, arguably one of the biggest stars, period. And for a time, she was the biggest star in wrestling on the planet, male or female. She is a legend at this point, right? For what she's done. But she was in there with teaming with Trish and Lita. I mean, it doesn't get any bigger than that for a WrestleMania match, especially for someone like her. In Damage Control, feel how you want about them, but all three of those women are ultra talented. So I thought there was just an abundance of talent in this match. It was an okay match. It was fine. They worked really hard, but it wasn't the match that I was most looking forward to.
Okay.
If we can move on, if you don't have any comments on this
I
one.
mean, they say if you don't have anything nice, I mean, for me, ooh, it looked like. So what else you got?
Okay, so let's move on to the match that I definitely want to talk about, and I think it's a lot of people's match of the weekend, and that's Charlotte Flair versus
Yes,
Rhea Ripley.
yes, 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 yes.
When that match ended on Saturday night, it was a follow that moment. It made a statement because Charlotte has had some just epic 5-star, however you want to rate them, match of the year candidates. This might be her best match, and I would definitely say this is Rhea's best match,
Ooh.
and that's saying a lot because Rhea's
Yeah,
had some absolute crazy matches. Um, this made a statement so much so that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and the Usos had to work really hard, and
yes, they
I don't think they
did.
topped it. I don't think they did.
Ah,
Um, so talk to me a little bit about Rhea now versus Rhea from a couple years ago.
oh my God. So, I loved Rhea in NXT. I loved her in NXT. It was great watching her and Bianca kind of like come through NXT together, and I remember that match when she first came up from NXT, and I remember when she had to fight Charlotte, and I mean it was so many ifs and maybes because she was dominant even then. She was dominant. She wasn't as skillful. She wasn't as of course not as seasoned as Charlotte is, of course, but she was dominant then, and even then I thought that she might beat Charlotte, she gave me that belief that she could possibly be the champion at that point in time. And when she didn't win, I wasn't disappointed, more so because I'm like, okay, I could see this, and I'm gonna, but I've always been a Rhea fan, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna continue to support her and see where she goes. And even though it's been what, about 3 years, 3 years later, this Rhea who walked in that ring this past weekend, don't get me wrong, Charlotte too. Charlotte too. I want to say this about both ladies. They both walked in there with this sense of confidence and sense of dominance, and I belong here, and oh, just the vibe. I want to say just this match gave me such almost anxiety. Just watching it, the vibe, and from the watching the ladies in the ring, and just knowing both of their histories, and knowing that Rhea today has been one of the most dominant forces in as a woman in wrestling, period, in WWE. I love her new character. I love her being with her new surroundings with Finn, and just whispering in Dominic's ear, like everything about her has developed almost 200% since that Rhea that lost to Charlotte 3 years ago. So I honestly was not surprised with the outcome. I love this Rhea that we have right now. I love where the story is going. Um, Oh, it just, yeah, I'm all for it. I even kind of got some ideas, floating around in my head, fantasy booking about who she's gonna fight next and what's gonna happen. Like I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So it was whoever has not seen it, needs to see it. Like, that's all I can say. This match is so worth it, as far as the storytelling, as far as becoming full circle, as far as, watching the young woman who was always in Charlotte's shadow and people always comparing her to her, finally getting her upcomings and finally being that dominant force to say, no, I'm not a Charlotte wannabe. I'm Rhea Ripley, and that's who I am. And
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved it. It was such a great match. Oh,
So one of the things I noticed too, and we talk about this all the time, like Charlotte is one of, if not the best in the world,
oh
and
man, yeah,
it's very hard for people at the top or at a high level to get better or to be able to even wrestle at their capacity, to wrestle at 100%. And we saw Bianca and Asuka wrestled at 100%.
hmm
They were both they were able to go full throttle. You don't see that many matches where Charlotte is able to go just all out and put throw caution to the wind and just be full Charlotte. And Rhea and Charlotte's match from a few years ago, she kind of had to step down a gear for
yeah,
Rhea. It was an awesome match, but this week,
huh.
no, not. This was a different story. This was a different competitor, and for someone to get in there and actually push Charlotte is saying an awful lot. And
Oh
I
yeah.
I felt like we saw that.
And then even at the end, just the way Charlotte sat there, it was almost like her expression, like she knew. She was like, "Damn it, not even, I lost." To me, it was like, "Damn it, we did that." Like, it was almost like just a bravo to me, because I mean, oh my, and just hats off to Charlotte. Period. There was a couple of times in that match where Rhea flipped her over, so where she smashed her face. Like, the first time, I thought she just bumped her nose a little bit on the ground, but the second time, and then she came up with a little gash on her nose, and then her mouth was already bleeding. Like, Charlotte, oh my god, I thought she was. I know, me personally, I probably would have been knocked out. Like, no. And she kept going with no interference, with no medical attention, with no. I mean, she is such a pro in that ring, and man, I don't know. Even to the point where the end of that match was just awesome, like with the chops that she gave, and I, oh my god! But that match has some very scary moments, for how Rhea just. I mean, I just don't know if she's just that powerful, but she just overly tossed Charlotte. Like, what kind of suplex was this supposed to be?
Yeah, yeah, and it was pretty cool. Charlotte completely broke character. She was sitting on the floor up against the ring,
Yeah.
smiling, clapping,
Hmm.
and I think that's the stuff fans appreciate stuff like that. I know I do. Seeing just a genuine thrill of like knowing that they delivered, like they over
Yeah,
delivered.
yeah, that's exactly how I felt. She was like, "Yeah."
Yeah, we
It
did
was
that.
awesome.
Yeah. So all in all, it was a really fun weekend, and just a reminder that in a few weeks, on April 22nd, we will be geared up and ready for Edge of Glory, Mission Pro Wrestling's Edge of Glory.
Yes.
We have some great matches on the card, and of course, one of the matches that I'm most looking forward to is our main event, Genocide versus Hyon. Hyon being who she is in the world of wrestling, she is a force to be reckoned with, and
Mhm.
probably Genocide's biggest challenge to date. And this is going to be a really cool special matchup. Um, if you get a chance, look on our YouTube channel for the latest videos from the Men's Revolution. Uh, man, they have some very strong opinions about themselves, and and
Yeah,
yeah, so JP, Joey Hyder, and Boss Baines obviously are leading the charge there, but they're funny and they're egotistical, and just I can't wait, hopefully, to see them get beat up at some point. Um, but make sure you tune in on April 22nd on Title Match Network. If you are in the area, make sure you are there, because there's nothing quite like a Mission Pro show in person.
Yes.
Tickets are available at missionprowrestling.com. If you'd like to sponsor a talent or any of our show opportunities, email missionprowrestling@gmail.com, and follow us on all the socials as well. Trenda, I'm glad you had a great time last weekend. You got to do all kinds of cool stuff. I
Yeah.
have a
So
feeling. Go ahead.
Real quickly, I want to send a shout out to Stephanie and Robert in Michigan, my new whiskey a go go shots. Having partners that we were there and from the Busted Open Nation, and of course Zito from California and Amir from Cali, my guys. The California chapter was out there in full force. Yeah, we all had a fabulous time this weekend, and yeah, these guys are great. So yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, you can find me at PW Front Row on all the socials. You can also find me on Saturday nights with our other co-hosts for the Nation's Corner. You can find us at Nation's Corner on Twitter and at The Nation's Corner on all other socials. Make sure you check us out 7 p.m. Saturdays every week live on YouTube. Trenda, where can people find you?
You can find me on, I don't know. You can find me on Twitter at Have It Farming with the capital H4MN, and on Instagram at all lowercase Have It Farming. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So we look forward to talking to everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to see y'all next week. Have a great weekend.